Welcome, friends. Today we are making one of the most maligned cakes ever, the dump cake. A lot of dump cake recipes. A lot of people look at a dump cake and say, "Oh, those are horrible. I would never make a dump cake." For the most part, I would agree. For the most part, I would agree. But you know what? You can actually make an incredible cake using the dump cake method. And I have to admit, I don't really like the name dump cake, but it's apropos because really you're just taking all of this stuff and you're dumping it into a pot and you're mixing it together. You're not creaming anything. It's super easy method, especially if you aren't comfortable with a lot of tasks in the kitchen. This is one of the simplest ways to get an amazing tasting cake. So into this pot, I put water, sugar, chocolate, and butter. And we just want to bring that up to temperature and stir it all together so that everything's melted and mixed together. You don't want to bring it to the boiling point, but you're probably going to get pretty close to boiling by the time everything's melted and mixed together. So we're just going to let this go, and while it melts, we're going to deal with the dry ingredients. And so the dry ingredients, pretty standard stuff. I've got some flour, I've got baking soda, baking powder, and some salt. And we're just going to stir that all together into the flour so that it's nicely mixed together. Done. Simple. I've got a mixing cup, and I need 1 cup of buttermilk. And to the buttermilk, I'm going to add vanilla and 2 eggs. And I'm also going to put in some instant coffee. Julie and I must be the only people on the planet that don't drink coffee. And so I really like the flavor of it, though. I use it in cooking, I use it in baking all the time. I wouldn't drink a cup of coffee if you paid me. And so I recently went to buy that at the grocery store, and I was amazed. There's really only 1 or 2 brands left. I mean, there's a whole row of coffee, beans and coffee pods, and you know, there's like 2 kinds of instant coffee. So it's really fallen from favor. I guess nobody drinks it anymore. So I'm just going to whisk this together, get the eggs broken down into the buttermilk, and the coffee will dissolve really quickly. Now, it smells really coffee-like right now. The coffee really is here just to bring out the chocolate flavor. Bring that chocolate flavor to the top, make it more chocolatey. There might be a hint of coffee in the background, and you're going to go, I wonder what that is, but you're not really going to taste it. That's the hope. So let's check on the chocolate. Not quite there yet, almost. Now I do have another optional secret ingredient to pump up that chocolate flavor. Let me get it. And that's this chocolate liqueur. Now, if you don't want to put the chocolate liqueur in, or you don't want to buy a bottle of chocolate liqueur in order to make it, that's fine. You can leave it out. I just find that it really helps intensify that chocolate flavor. And for those of you who object or can't use it on the basis that it has alcohol, that's fine. You can leave it out. But I would say that there's less alcohol in this than in the vanilla that I put in here. So from an alcohol standpoint, it's about the same as the vanilla. And also, instead of using the instant coffee, if you had a coffee liqueur, I would leave the vanilla out and put the coffee liqueur in here instead of the instant coffee. So many different ways to sort of change the flavor a little bit and make it the way you want to make it, and make it with the ingredients that you have in your house. So this is almost done. Okay, so we take this off the heat, and you want to let that cool down almost to room temperature before we move on to the next step. And this is a great place to turn on and preheat your oven and get your cake pans ready. Okay, that's cool enough. So first in is the milk mixture. And you can just stir that in with the same spatula that you've been using. Won't take much to mix it in. And next in is the flour mixture. And you want to do about a half at a time. And I'm going to switch to a whisk. I think it's going to be easier. And this is the point where if you're going to use the coffee liqueur, mix it in now. And the rest of the flour. I've prepped the cake pans by greasing them and then coating them in a little bit of flour, and then I made a parchment disc to put in the bottom of each. That'll make sure that the cakes don't stick and they come out really easily. Now comes the messy bit. You need to pour evenly between the two cake pans. And you know, eyeball it, do the best you can. If it's not exact, I don't think anyone's going to turn you into the cake police. There we go. Now, I'll just stick these in the oven and they'll bake for 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, depending on your oven. And then you just pull them out and let them cool completely before we move on to the next thing, which is the icing. Okay, the cakes are cooling. It's time to make the icing, or frosting, depending on where you live. Everybody seems to call it something different. So in this bowl, I have chocolate that I've melted. The same dark, kind of bitterish chocolate that I used in the cake. And I've just melted this in the microwave because that is my current preferred method of melting chocolate. If you want to do it over a pot of steaming water, go right ahead. Completely up to you. So it's melted, but it's come back to almost room temperature at this point. Just almost to the point where it's starting to thicken up again, which is important. So in this bowl, I have sour cream, full fat, real sour cream. And I'm going to mix the two together. And the sour cream has come pretty much to room temperature as well. You don't want it straight out of the fridge. And we're going to mix those two together. And while we're mixing, I'm going to put in a pinch of salt and a little bit of vanilla. Maybe a little bit more than a little bit of vanilla. And we just mix that together. Okay, so let's give it a taste. Yeah, to me, it's just a little bit too bitter. A little bit too bitter. So I'm going to put in some icing sugar. You might call it powdered sugar where you live. Leave a comment down below. Let me know where you live and what you call it. I'm just going to mix it in, and I'm going to keep tasting it until I reach both a consistency that I'd like to spread on the cake and sort of a sweetness level that is pleasing to me. And that might be a different amount of sugar for you. And it also depends on the chocolate that you used. If you were using semi-sweet chocolate, you might not need to add any sugar. It might be fine just the way it was. Okay, get another spoon, give it another taste. Let's see what this is. Closer, a little bit more. I think we're good. So, if this is your first time coming to the channel, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. What you're about to witness might not be pretty. It's a well-known fact that I am not much of a cake icing expert, and I encourage people just to get the icing on. If what you do is get the icing on the cake, you're off to the races. It doesn't have to be pretty, just has to be on there. That's my mantra. So let's see how it goes. I see you found the cake.
Of course I found the cake. I know exactly where to show up.
Doesn't matter how many I ice, it really doesn't get any better.
That's okay. So maybe that's not your skill, but it's still. I mean, it's a nice. It looks nice, but I did pull it out of the fridge though.
Yes. So the icing, if you live south of Winnipeg, I don't think this is the icing to use because it's midwinter here, and even though it's kind of warm in the studio, it's pretty droopy icing. So if you lived, in the American South, if you're outside of the air conditioning, forget it.
That being said, if you have experience with this and you know how to make it better.
Or stiffer.
Yeah. Something that would work in a warm summer day. Anyway.
Yeah, I kind of think that the sour cream defeats the ability to make this too stiff or stiff enough.
There's an interesting tart taste in there.
Wow.
What's that? I know what I want to say, but I don't think I'm right.
So there's buttermilk in it.
Okay.
What else? What do you think?
Well, it's funny because it almost has like a cherry flavor to it.
No.
I know, but it's that tart. This is why I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
It's that tart, probably from the buttermilk combined with the chocolate, and you kind of think chocolate and cherries, they go together, right? So.
Amazingly moist.
Yeah, but I really like that.
Really rich flavor. It's a dump cake. Really, it's a dump cake.
I hate that label.
I hate that label
Makes
too.
it sound like it's crappy.
It does, but that is not a crappy cake. I would put that cake on the table for Her Majesty.
Really?
Yes, if
Even with this icing, or would you get someone else to ice?
Oh no, I think Elizabeth would be fine with the icing. I have to imagine she's like my grandmother. She'd give you a little pat on the back and say,
"Nice job,
nice
Glenn.
job, Glenn."
We like it when you try
Yes.
hard.
So, but
Yeah, that works.
it's great. So, there's coffee in it, which I'm glad you didn't say coffee because I know that Julie
I
doesn't.
didn't notice the coffee, which is interesting because I'm not a coffee flavor.
So the coffee
The coffee's well hidden.
The coffee is lifting the chocolate, and also I put in chocolate liqueur, which also again lifts that chocolate flavor and just makes it more chocolate than chocolate.
You're saying the original cake didn't have chocolate liqueur in it?
No, it didn't have coffee, and it didn't have buttermilk, and it didn't have.
Oh, so you've really stepped it up a bit, but you still went for the whole toss it, stir it, put it in the pan?
You toss it in a pot, heat up everything, melt it together, and then toss it in the pan and bake it. So it is from a technical standpoint, it is one of the easiest cakes that you can make. I mean, it's less hard than box cake because you didn't have to go to the grocery store and buy the box.
Or get rid of the box.
Or get rid of the box. I mean, like I said, I'd serve that cake to anyone. It's a really good cake. The icing, I like the taste of the icing, but I think I'd choose a different icing if I was going to take it to somebody's house.
Because it won't stand up.
Because it won't stand up. It'll start to slouch.
What you're telling me is that in the next 10 minutes, it's going to start to...
It'll start to slouch. Yeah. I mean, which you may not notice because I'm not so great at icing the cake anyway.
If you brought it, no one
no
people
one,
would be like, oh, look.
People are just like, oh, Glenn,
Nice job,
Glenn
Glenn.
made a cake. He says he's got a cooking channel, but his cakes look pretty bad. Anyway, this is a great cake.
Tastes good. Thumbs up.
Give it a try. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.
Enjoy your day.